there's some distance between taking off the music and taking off the graphics. So that takes a little bit of time. Appreciate you being here. Wake up, college football, at the Voice of College Football. This is our Friday. It is Thursday. It is our Friday. We enjoy the 3-day weekend here at Wake Up College Football, 20th edition. If you're keeping track, don't look at the thumbnails. If you're keeping track, 20th edition. Appreciate y'all being here. Headlines, breakfast, and more with the Voice of College Football. I hesitate and don't necessarily want to get to the headlines because I took a peek, and I'm always taking a peek at the headlines to determine what we should be doing here and what videos we should be creating. And it starts with a rather somber note, but we will get to that in just a second. I think one of the great things about starting this morning show, by far, the best aspect of starting this morning show, and I especially noticed this in the last couple shows, just this week, doing this a fifth week. So we complete a fifth week, 4 shows per week, 20 shows, fifth week already. Hard to believe. Fifth week? We started on April 15th. That's 5 weeks. That's less than a month. 5 weeks. I don't know. It's 5 weeks of shows. It's 20 shows, and here we are. But the best aspect, regardless of the math, the best aspect by far has been connecting with people that I have not seen in other day parts on other shows. That doesn't mean that you aren't there and haven't been there, but there have been so many people from day one, and I got to think that most of those people were already watching at some point during the day. Just this fit during a time that they could say, "Hey, Mark, how's it going?" and that you could participate in the show. And that seems to have multiplied, even though the audience has not multiplied. That seems to have multiplied here just in the last few days, or have had more and more people show up, and hey, they sound like they've been around for a while. So whether you are new to the Voice of College Football, maybe you've been watching just a few days, just a few weeks, new to this show, welcome. If you are somebody that's been watching, and I hear this all the time, somebody who's been watching for years sometimes, and I have no idea that you exist because you are not the type to comment, but one day you just decide to comment or just say hi. If you were one of those, we appreciate your support, your viewership, and I want this to be a comfortable experience for you. So I don't want you to force yourself to comment. But if you are one of those people that have been watching for whatever period of time, that could be 3 days or 3 months or 3 years or beyond, but have never commented, and I have no idea you exist, do me this one small favor. Just say hi. Hey, Mark, been watching for 3 years. And if you never comment elsewhere, I'll just know. Mac is there. He's watching. I just enjoy that. I enjoy seeing that. That does me good each and every day. So thank you for that. And we will do our typical scan of who's in the chat. Say hi to everyone. And this is a morning show that, again, we created 20 business days ago. And we could be making some changes, altering a few things, making things better, more productive, because we enjoy this. So there's so much about this I enjoy. I just enjoy seeing a different color on the screen. Black, red, silver. That's the Voice of College Football. But I just enjoy seeing a different color, a different logo. The logo with the burst and the sun and the different colors. I just enjoy that. I enjoy the music. I enjoy the concept. I enjoy being in a different location. But again, the thing that I enjoy most is seeing all of you. And for you old timers, I am not forgetting you. You are not a second-class citizen. Just highlighting the enjoyment that I've had in seeing new people here. But D-Rock, the Rod Farva, all you old timers that I will get to in just a second. Appreciate you being here. You're the core. Thanks for being here. So the entire concept, rambling on about things that don't really matter, about dreams I had, about issues with the post office, about playing pickleball, about all those things that I've talked about, mention the amazing friends that I have, all that. I enjoy that. It's a different sort of show here at the Voice of College Football. Every so often, somebody pulls me into a conversation on one of the other shows that is a hardcore college football platform show, but pulls me into a conversation because they'd like to hear a little bit about me. And I think, okay, sometimes I'm in the mood to go into those kind of conversations. Other times I think I'm in the mood, but how many other people, this person is interested, but how many people watching? If we've got 100 people watching, how many of you are really interested in my background, my experience, or whatever they're asking about? It's probably pretty minuscule. So I always think the business side of things and how many people are watching that don't care. And I would like for us to build a show here each and every morning. That would be each and every morning. I've told you many times, this is not the time for me to be talking, but each and every morning that can be watched throughout the day. This is a more interactive, conversational, what's for breakfast, how you feeling today, what's the good word, what's on your mind. Again, we drive hardcore college football discussion so much all day, every channel that I enjoy. I almost the last portion of the show that I enjoy is going to the headlines and looking at the headlines. I got to tell you that has to happen though. That is the core of the show, but that's what I enjoy the least. I like hearing your little anecdotes that spark anecdotes from me, or little stories and anecdotes that I've told have sparked conversation from you, and I learn about you all as well. So that's what I enjoy about the show. That's kind of how I envisioned the show being. I don't know if there's an audience for that. So we're looking at the show, trying to figure out how to make this better. And so we are taking a week off. So not next week. We'll be here next week. The following week, we are taking a hiatus. Not really a hiatus. It is going to be a hopefully more than partial, more than semi-vacation week for me. My daughter's going to be in town, and I'm trying to clear my schedule as much as possible. I'll probably come up with one video idea. I hope one video idea per day that I can just, okay, this happened, this was stated, this was said, this happened, boom. I've got an opinion, I've got an angle, boom, throw it out there. But I'm not going to be embarking on any huge projects like we are right now with the all-time program rankings. So I'm going to take those 4 or 5 days and back off a little bit. But I got to tell you, regardless of what you see and regardless of whether it looks and appears as though it's just business as usual here at the Voice of College Football, it certainly is not. There are so many things going on behind the scenes that have required a lot of planning, a lot of time, a lot of attention. And unfortunately, all of those things, not most of those things, all of those things require even more planning and attention and time going forward. probably not half done with any of those things. No, not half done with any of those things. And thinking about each individual thing that we're hoping to roll out here in the next few months, in some cases, like in terms of the people that work with me, one person may know about this, three people may know about this other thing. I don't think there's any one person that knows about everything. I know that there's not one person that knows that this is the only guy that knows about everything that's being worked on and that we're hoping to explore and launch here at the Voice of College Football. But I've got to say, you guys are amazing. And the people that work with me, they are amazing as well. I'm not going to name them all. We had a State of the Voice of College Football a couple months ago, and I gushed with gratitude. I cannot gush with gratitude enough. I could do it every day for all the people that work on the various channels and the contributions they have, their ideas, their commitment, their engagement in what we're doing inspires me every day. That's probably my biggest source of inspiration. Probably second to knowing that God wants me to do something productive and beneficial to people in this life. It may not be this. I think for the time being, it is this. So that's my biggest inspiration. But my second biggest inspiration has to be the people that have joined us here at the Voice of College Football and the inspiration I gain from their ideas and their involvement and their encouragement and their beliefs that this is something special. I don't look at this as something special. I truly don't on a technical or operational or content level. I think in a higher realm, it is sometimes something special because of the people that have come out consistently for years. And I take it back to the COVID time in 2020 and the aftermath of that, and how many people approached me, contacted me, and let me know what this platform, our conversations, things we talked about that were not necessarily college football, and the college football that was an escape, and all of that brought them through a rough time or helped to bring them through a tough time. And so every time I get to the point where it's like, why are we doing this? That I get enough feedback from all of you that says, we like this. We enjoy this, even if it's just a quick part of my day, 5 minutes that I enjoy, or this is really a big part of my day, or this is more than college football, whatever it is, we appreciate your responses. Those offset the Mark, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, your all-time rankings suck, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you forgot about this. Yeah, and most of the time, they don't know what they're talking about. Thank you to the person out there on the Florida State channel. Never heard or seen from this person before. Not that they've not left comments. I do apologize. I have never promised and never will promise to get to comments. I get to a few comments here and there. I typically go for the high end and the low end when I respond to comments. I see I'm a sucker for Mark. This is awesome. Mark, thank you so much. I think I got to tell these people, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the response. Appreciate that. Da, 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 da. I'm a sucker for getting into the comments. And yes, we would love to have such large channels that there would be no way for me to thank everyone. That's where I would like to be, except for I wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm not able to do that all the time. So if you have thanked me in a comment, and I understand for a lot of people, they expect responses, and you've not received a response, then there is somebody out there doing something every morning. Anyway, This guy's driving a golf cart, but it's more of a tractor style golf cart. And there's nothing having to do with mowing or anything. I don't know what he's doing. So thank you. And then I typically grab the people that are insane and I typically respond to them. So if you were just making pretty normal, productive comments, I'm sorry, I probably don't respond enough to you because then there are the insane, delusional types that I tend to get suckered in to get into a debate with them or correct them, especially if they've accused me of something that I didn't do or say, or they're completely factually wrong, which happens all the time. But to complete my thought on the Florida State commenter who said it was just a one-liner, just said something like, Mark knows a ton about college football or something like that. No, he used the word crazy. It's crazy how much Mark knows about college football. We were having a debate on the Florida State show. Great show. Florida State show every Wednesday at 6 Eastern. Every show that we do has a separate and distinct and special place in my heart. People ask me all the time. Not all the time. I've had people ask me, which show do you like the best? Which one do you like to do the best? First of all, I'm not going to say, I would never say. Secondly, I don't know what the answer is because they're all different. And that's what I enjoy. It's not like, okay, this guy, this analyst is exactly like this one, like that. They all have their unique flavor, style. So the Florida State guys, James, Chris, George, Spear Addicts, Den Media Group, the Renegade Report. If you want Florida State football coverage, those are the places to check out. But we got into a fun debate, and I don't debate those guys very often. I probably debate those guys maybe less than anyone. But we got into a debate about the college football playoff snub from last year, whether it was maybe predetermined. And I did not argue that. There are some pretty valid indications of that it could have been predetermined. Anytime I hear that sports, college football in particular, because that's what I cover and love, this is what's first in my life right now and has been for 10 years. Anytime I get any type of lean that there could be some fixing of things, predetermined outcomes of games would be the worst, of course. If any of us found out that games were being fixed, and maybe you believe that, anytime I hear that from anyone where they believe that a game was fixed or that this happens, if there was one game fixed in the 21st century, I could live with that. It happened. It shouldn't have. It wasn't caught. I'm not going to name a game because then people are going to think that I am leading us on to something. No, just whatever game, random game, important game, non-important game. Understand that money can be made on any game. So people think important games, but money can be made and lost on any game. So it could be the Georgia State Appalachian State game that nobody's paying attention to. So anytime that would be just about the worst, because if the sport is fixed in any way, then I'm out. Why cover? I don't want to cover wrestling. But other things like coming down the stretch, let's say we had networks and powers that be leaning heavily to say, Florida State looks like they're finishing undefeated. We're not going to put them in the playoffs. And I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying that could happen. think we have things that are revealed to us almost on a daily basis involving real life, important stuff in real life, not play stuff in college football. Because for as horrible as it would be, if college football ended tomorrow and we found out there was all this corruption and all these invalid results based on fixed games, yeah, that would be a horrible thing. But would it really impact our lives? Yeah, well, some of you would be really hurting, and I would be rather disappointed. It would impact me less today than it would have at any point in my life. Uh, I would have to go do something else. I spoke with a former ESPN colleague just yesterday. Somebody reached out to me, wanted some career advice. We had a long conversation, and yeah, I would be back in a situation where, oh, what do I do now? But hey, there's always money to be made somewhere. Somebody's making it. All you have to do is figure it out. All right. Went in all sorts of directions, but hey, this is what I envisioned in launching this show. Maybe this isn't what you folks want, though. So there could be changes to the show. Would like to streamline it, maybe, because I think that could be better for future audiences. So, yeah, I won't go any further down that path. We will say hi to our folks out there. D-Rock Irish, the first in the chat today at a bright and early 7:45, 15 minutes early. Hey, D-Rock, good to see you. After Michigan fans, I clearly need some water. My voice almost cracked. After Michigan fans, every time I see a Michigan fan, it almost always goes through my head, man, I really appreciate this person being here. They must be listening. They must be appreciating what we do because they know who I root for. They know where I'm from. And they could listen to everything I have to say and turn it a certain way. So I appreciate the Michigan fans in a sense, more than any other fan base. In a way, not totally, but in that way. And then number two might be the Notre Dame fans, just because they have played my favorite team 2 years in a row. And we've had some heated debates, and there have been some crazy, out of their mind Notre Dame fans that we've run across that have completely dismissed themselves from reality. And so I've had to be a bit harsh on, by connection, Notre Dame. But we've got guys like D-Rock Irish that understand and see what's going on here. Megan, we talked about you yesterday. Hopefully you heard that, because I kind of wondered for a few days, where's Megan? Because Megan showed up. Megan got involved in the breakfast conversations. Megan purchased the breakfast for me. That turned out to be a smoothie. Thank you so much for that, Megan. And Megan, with the A in front of the 20 spot here, down under, was wearing my USC shirt. Bought when I was in LA, September of 2022, proudly around my hometown, complete with one of my many USC baseball caps. Was truly amazed by how many people I had to explain the three greatest letters to. Yeah, I don't know our American brands, how prominent the American college football brands are overseas. If you see people overseas and they recognize major college football brands, if that's because they're Americans and they're just happen to be overseas as well, or they partake in college football as what we are to us, foreigners, but natives in their land. I don't know how big the brand is. I do think that if you enjoy something that has a pop culture slant to it, whether that's sports, entertainment in any way, music, films, whatever, that we tend to overrate and over evaluate what we like as being important in the world. I don't think there's any question about that. So we think, well, everybody knows about that. Everybody has seen this. Everybody's seen that. I've been in all sorts of conversations like that where people just expected everybody's seen that movie. Well, really not. It could be the most popular movie of the last 10 years, but if you really break down the numbers and how many people saw it multiple times, it's really pretty minuscule compared to the population. Gone are the days of just about everybody watching the moonwalk or certain entertainers that I would love to name that drew like an 80 rating or share, because there were limited opportunities, limited options, partially because of the magnitude of these entertainers that, although that they're crazy, I went down a path of download statistics, streaming statistics, all of that with various artists. A couple weeks ago, I ran across something and I was fascinated at this one website that just had any artist that you could think of, and basically their discography from top to bottom and the sales and specifics about the sales, and then how the sales for old artists moved into the streaming world and how well that transitioned for them, whether they were, for a lot of artists, popular in the 50s or 60s, they've kind of hit a wall. As you can understand, they've been largely forgotten. Sure, there's still people out there. They're still famous, relatively speaking. There are still people out there that listen to their music. You can still find it on YouTube, but it's not, they've kind of been forgotten. Then there are others, very few, that have transcended into the 21st century. And so anyway, I was fascinated to look at these numbers. Yeah, I don't know what that has to do with USC, but yeah. Shoot, there are people in the United States that you might be surprised. You might be surprised at how many people don't know. And the sports world is it's huge. It's huge. Sports is huge in America in particular. And I know that it's huge around the world, but different sports are huge. Of course, soccer is the biggest sport in the world. It's way down the list here, although I believe it's growing. I think they have massive soccer crowds in big cities. That's what I hear. I've never seen it. I've never come across a soccer game on television, a professional, I don't even know what the league's called in the United States. That concept hit me during the latter portion of my days at ESPN, when there would be a big sports story, and then I would hear the likes of Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith talk about it. And I'm really not picking on them, but maybe in a sense I am, because then they would talk about these things in certain terms they would use, and the way they would talk about it, it would be like, everybody in America is talking about this. No, they're not. No, not even close. Not everybody's talking about the war of words between LeBron James and Bryant Westbrook from the night before. No, you live in a bubble. I can think of about 4 or 5 instances where I realized how people can choose their own entertainment and they live in their own world. And that's fine. That's not a knock at all. I'm actually more impressed when I run across people that don't know who celebrities are. I actually enjoy that. I think, well, they probably have better things to do and they have more involved in their lives than to track celebrities. I came across a name the other day. I will ask, and I'm guessing when I was looking at all these streaming numbers, I came across a name that I had never heard in my life the other day. Does anybody out there know who Travis Scott is? Raise of hands. We have all of 33 people watching. Do you know who Travis Scott is? I think I got that name right. Does everybody know who Travis Scott is? So one more time, Travis Scott. So, okay, Megan does. I came across this name the other day. I had no idea. I saw a name listed on a list above Taylor Swift. And I go, who is this? I have never heard of this individual in my life. I would have guessed if you would have said the name Travis Scott and linked it to music, which rap, is it music? Anyway, if you linked it to music, I would have said it appears as though people know who he is, are familiar with him. About 5 to 10 people have now said, I know who that is. But I saw that name. I would guess if you said this person's a musical artist, they've got the name of Travis Scott. It sounds like a country music singer to me. I would have said, oh, country music singer. No, it's some rapper. I had never heard of this person. And now I hate to say, well, D-Rock Irish right there. Like me, Travis Scott. Sounds like country music, right? I don't know. So my initial thought is typically, I just feel less innocent then. Like, oh, it was nice not knowing who this individual is. Now, I still could not name you one song, don't know what the music sounds like, don't know what he looks like. He could walk in the door right now and I would have no idea who he was. But I was just blown away by these streaming numbers. It's like, I've never heard of this person. So anyway, yeah, so I tend to be impressed with people when it seems to be a little refreshing when I come across somebody who people have not heard of. So the incidents in my life that come to mind is I was dating someone about close to 20 years ago. No, 15 years ago. And I brought up the name Bruce Springsteen. They had no idea who I was talking about. And that could have something to do with this young lady being Hispanic. That could be it, partially. Not that every white American knows who Bruce Springsteen is and nobody else knows who he is, but that could have something to do with it. So, yeah, this is about 15 years ago. Has no idea who I'm talking about. And then I found it funny because about 5 years ago, I am dating somebody else. Same thing. Bruce Springsteen comes out of my mouth. We're talking about music. I mentioned different people that I like. I mentioned Bruce Springsteen. No idea. No idea who he is. Who? I thought everybody in America knew who Bruce Springsteen was. I run across 2 people, no idea who he is. These are people that are out in the world talking to people all the time, business people. No idea. I thought that was rather enlightening. Adam says, immediately stop dating someone who does not know who Bruce is. I get your point there. I would only say that about one other person. It would not be Bruce Springsteen, but I get your point. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so generational. So 15 years ago, I was at the time, I'm like 40. This girl's 26. Has something to do with it, sure. About 5 years ago, this person's more like 40. Could be. Yes, Adam. Now that would be, I would be astonished. And I know that person exists out there. I have yet to run across them. I know they exist out there. I will have more pity upon them than anything else. I will not be upset with them. It's not their fault. I will just show some type of pity. But yeah, I was surprised. Somebody didn't know who Bruce Springsteen was. And I was two people. Oh boy, we got Troy coming back. Troy and Adam are about to go at it. Okay, we'll not rate the artists here. The other thing, in the sports realm, I was dating somebody else. This is a third individual. I don't know what her ethnicity was. She had kind of an ethnic type name, but not Hispanic. And this is about 15 years ago, roughly. And it was funny because on this particular night, I had a friend visiting from Ohio. I'm living in Connecticut, have a friend visiting from Ohio. The three of us go out. We go down to the casino. And this is during the NBA playoffs. And my buddy mentions LeBron James. Now, this is not now, which it only makes sense that LeBron James is going to be more famous now than he was in 2008, is about when this was. But still, my buddy, Cleveland guy, Cavs guy, and he's a sports guy. So LeBron James, everybody knows who LeBron James is. He says LeBron James. She's like, who? And so he's flabbergasted. You don't know who LeBron James is? I was so amused at this. But then I was curious, okay, are we talking about doesn't know who LeBron James is and has no idea what any player in the NBA has not heard of anyone? So I immediately came back with, do you know who Kobe Bryant is? Oh, sure, I know who Kobe Bryant is. She just responded like, yeah, of course, everybody knows who Kobe Bryant is. But she didn't know who LeBron James was. Look at this comment here from Adam. This jumped out at me. And maybe we'll go down we could go down some musical artists and you all could chime in, of course. Let's be kind for as much as I like to criticize musical artists. But Adam has a TCB tattoo on my arm. And if you're not aware of what that is, it's called Taking Care of Business, of course. But that is linked to that saying and those letters, that acronym tied to the Memphis Mafia and Elvis's kind of saying, taking care of business. So that's very cool, Adam. I thought when I started to read that you were going to note, as a Springsteen fan, this is maybe largely a little known fact, but I'm sure zillions of people out there know it, that on the Born to Run album, that there's a button on Springsteen's jacket on maybe his most famous album cover. You know what I'm coming with here, Adam? You may know this. The button on Springsteen's jacket on the Born to Run cover, you can't, if you blew it up, you could see it. But I am thinking few people would even recognize this. I saw the album 500 times before it was pointed out to me that he has an Elvis button on his jacket. It's I believe it is associated with the New York City, or one of the New York City Elvis fan clubs at the time. Bruce Springsteen was a member of the Elvis fan club and had an Elvis button on his leather jacket on the Born to Run album. I think it's a badge. Yes, it could be a badge. I think it's a button, but we don't need to squabble about that. Born to Run is an amazing album. I don't know that I've heard the album start to finish. I'm sure I've heard most of it. Springsteen is one of my 5 favorite artists. Now, understand that after number 1, it falls off the cliff dramatically. I can't explain how much, but Springsteen would definitely be in the top 5. I started to get into Springsteen. I was in high school when Born in the USA came out. And that's, of course, oh man, Ralph, you have no idea. When Born in the USA came out, and his popularity he was already famous, of course, and real rock people knew him, but he became a pop star. Ralph, so Springsteen about 5 years ago came out with his autobiography. And it's funny because a guy at work who's a enormous rock and roll guy, I'm not even going to tie him to a particular artist. He's just a rock band, classic rock guy. He was reading the Bruce Springsteen bio, and he had to bring this in to show me. So you're in the Bruce Springsteen bio fairly early in the book, and there's just like a blank page that has like 1 word or 2. There are like 3 or 4 consecutive pages where he just has like 1 word descriptions like blew my mind, unbelievable, changed my life. And you're like reading this, I guess, for the first time thinking, what is going on? He was describing when he first saw Elvis and how that changed his life. There's a Stephen Colbert clip. I'll not go into Stephen Colbert because, yeah, you don't want to hear what I have to say about Stephen Colbert. But there's a Stephen Colbert clip from a few years ago where he had Bruce Springsteen on, and he said, we're in the Ed Sullivan Theater. Tell us your response to this. He goes to the screen. They show Elvis going into Hound Dog on the Ed Sullivan Show, and Bruce Springsteen's like, yeah, that was it for me. I went, had my mom buy me a guitar. That was, yeah. The Rod Farva. It is interesting because Elvis's highest selling album of all time is one of his worst. It's a Christmas album. It's not bad, but it's like that. People that don't listen to Elvis don't care. They listen to Elvis Christmas music. It's funny because who is my number 1? Oh, it's Elvis, and nobody else really matters much. All right, we're not going to take this down too far a path. Yeah, we'll have to have a music conversation at some point. So I've got a soft spot for that 80s stretch of music. I'm not saying that it's great, but that's formative years. Now, a lot of people, their formative years are more like 8 to 12 when they really get into music. Well, when I got into music, 8 to 12, I saw Elvis on TV, and that was it for me. It was like, who cares about anybody else? This guy's the best. Like, I didn't listen to anything else. Now, once I get into high school, junior high, high school, I started listening to the radio, probably get influenced by friends. But Elvis was still just could not be touched. So I never like got into other music to surpass listening to Elvis by not even close. But when I was in high school, yeah, I started to get into Huey Lewis, went to see him live a couple times. Springsteen, who I never went to go see live, he would be the answer to, for most of my life, he would be the answer to the question, who do you want to most go see live? It would have been Springsteen. Now, today, I have no interest in going to see a 75-year-old Bruce Springsteen. But a 45-year-old Bruce Springsteen, yeah, I would have liked to have gone. Now, I could have gone, but I didn't make that much of an effort. Actually, I made zero effort, so it wasn't that important to me, but he would be the guy. John Mellencamp, Madonna. I got into that, that 80s. I got to say, if I am making dinner, if I am whatever, if I'm doing something where I like to put music on, compiling the all-time rankings lists, like I've been doing late at night for weeks and going through all those statistics, put music on, I just put my mix on. There's a certain Go-Go's tune that I just love. And actually, I love about 3 or 4. For most of my favorite artists, it's not like I love the catalog, or more accurately, I should say, I haven't given the entire catalog a listen. To be fair to that artist, to those artists, I don't have the patience to say, okay, I'm going to listen to all of Johnny Cash's catalog, because I can guarantee that most of it I can appreciate, and I have great respect for Johnny Cash, but I'm not going to sit there and listen to Johnny Cash endlessly. I'm going to think I'm wasting my time. If I had all the time in the world and my life was endless, I would say, okay, I'm going to listen to everyone, because I'm going to find some hidden gems and some less popular songs that I like. But Johnny Cash. So I really like Johnny Cash. He would be in my top 10. But when I say I really like him, to say I really like him, I'm not like a Johnny Cash fan where I know 50 songs and like them. I've got his greatest hits album. I enjoy that. Almost every song on it, I enjoy. When he starts the riffs, or his lead guitar player on Folsom Prison Blues, that's phenomenal. So I like Johnny Cash. This is funny. I'm going to say a very unpopular thing. Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. Thanks for being here. Well, everything's always opposite here when you try to point to something. So there you go. See, this is the consensus on this song. Big Ten Team Rivalry Show saying it. Adam is saying it. I have no interest in this song. It bores me. It's poorly sung. I understand it resonating with people because it's sad, and I don't even know what it's about. It's obviously sad, but he obviously can't sing at this point in his life. I have no interest in that song. I don't think it's a good song. I know it won a bunch of awards. People love it, because what I've noticed through the years is people get more attached now. I hear this all the time, and I even hear this about Elvis, and this isn't the reason. Number one, it's not the number one reason I like Elvis, is they'll be like, oh, he's such an emotional singer and his emotions are just, well, no, it's more about talent for me. Like, anybody can be like, if it was just about being emotional, hey, I could be one of the greatest singers in the world. If you want, you might be surprised by this, but if it comes to lost love or my children or something that hits home with me, I can be as emotional as anybody. That nobody wants to hear me sing. No. Talent. I want to hear a great voice. I want to hear a great vocalist. Now, Cash and Springsteen would be the two exceptions. And John Mellencamp. Really like John Mellencamp. Got into him about the same time, mid to late 80s. John Mellencamp. But again, I'm not in any of these things that I say, I'm not saying that this is the law. I'm just saying this is my perspective. This is for me. Anybody who loves anything. And it's funny with music because I'm caught between, I am caught between the personal perspective and right of everyone to have their own opinion to say, I think they can sing. I don't think they can sing. That is your right. That's your opinion. But it's not all subjective. So in a way, it's subjective. Of course, it's subjective. You could bring some of the greatest opera voices to me, and some of them I would be like, I don't want to listen to that. But I can't discount the talent and the ability because there is an objective nature. You do have to sing on key. There is resonance. There is vibrato. There is range. Those things are actually objective. Objective quality singing. So it's not all subjective, but it largely is. Does that make sense? Like pick a bit. I bet almost all of you love a particular singer, or probably more so a band that you would admit they're not a great band, but I like them. And if you like them, that's all that matters. If you enjoy listening to them, even if you have to admit, okay, technically they're really not that, their songs are really pop, or I think like pop music, positive music, light, fluffy, gets a bad rap. And I've certainly picked on certain artists at times. Be like, well, that's garbage. That's pop garbage, whatever. Well, but there are other pop garbage songs. And when I say garbage in a friendly way, that those songs are criticized, that so, I can listen to and put in my playlist, I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family. And I would expect all sorts of people to practically throw up. But I think the song's great. I love it. Okay, I want to hear from you guys. Let's see here. So I'm going to go backwards here. Todd says Ring of Fire. Not one of my very, very, very best favorite Johnny Cash songs, but of course, an all-time classic. Yes, really enjoy the song. It's not in my playlist per se, but yes, Ring of Fire. I can listen to that song right now and would enjoy it. Adam, I'm going to say a very unpopular thing here. Freddie Mercury, I don't get it. I'm not saying he can't sing. I'm not saying that. That would be, I'll stop right there. Luis, welcome to the Voice of College Football. Would love to know who you root for and how long you've been watching, because I've never seen your name before. Luis, thanks for being here. I saw Fleetwood Mac live at the Hollywood Bowl in 1979. Fleetwood Mac. I have no interest in Fleetwood Mac. I don't get it. I'm not saying they're not talented, but Stevie Nicks, to hear Stevie Nicks sing, but I completely respect your opinion. The record sales back you up. There you go. There's a case in point. Different tastes. Not that I can't sit and listen to any Fleetwood Mac song. They've got a few catchy songs, some of their most. And again, this is not a band I've given enough time to their catalog to say, oh, I've listened to 300 Fleetwood Mac songs, and I don't like any of them except for 2. No, I've listened to 10, and I only like 2. So And I apologize to anybody that I offend with any of these comments about musical artists, because understand, as I mentioned the other day, I'm a bit of a snob. I don't like very much music. Todd says John and June Cash had some good ones together. Absolutely. I have a buddy who sent me Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash gospel song that I had never heard. This was a couple months ago. Thought it was phenomenal. They were singing it on a TV show. Unfortunately, I could not tell you what the title of the song is now. I thought it was a really catchy tune. I thought it was really good. The Rod Farva. Elvis's version of Never Been to Spain is my favorite. There are about, well, there's actually more than just a couple, but yeah, look up Elvis, Never Been to Spain, especially from Elvis on Tour or any of those. So if you've got the deluxe set of Elvis on Tour, you get about 4 or 5 versions of Never Been to Spain. Listen to any of them. They're great. The band's great. He had a great band in the 70s. I have a certain soft spot and place in my heart for his original band with DJ Fontana on the drums and Scotty Moore and Bill Black. Of course, they're historic, legendary, epic because they were there at the beginning. But his 70s band was outrageous how good they were. Adam would like to revisit the 1984 Holiday Bowl and discuss what lessons it teaches us. So I think some of you would have to admit that you miss Chris, don't you? You miss him. Oh, man, look at this from David. David, I apologize if you've made comments before, and I should know who you are. Just understand I lose track of people, and that's a good thing because we should have so many people here that I lose track. Can't keep track of everyone, but I got to give you this because welcome into the voice of college football, David. Love seeing you here. Would love to know who you root for and where you're from. I have an indication based on your comment there. So my ex-wife, she loved the Michael Stanley Band. That was a local Cleveland band that had 1, maybe 2 national hits. I can't think of their tunes, but they had a couple songs I thought were good. And then Michael Stanley parlayed that into a local TV gig, and he became a TV personality. John, yes. So Elvis, a much less popular song called Hurt, a different song that I don't know who originally sang it. It's not an Elvis original. It's a cover. He does have a studio version that I don't recommend. It's fine. It's on his second to last album, 1976. A lot of people think, I'm surprised at how many people think that Elvis reached his vocal peak near. He didn't. But anyway, that's another discussion and debate I get into with Elvis fans because I think his vocal peak was clearly in the early to mid 60s. But yeah, if you get the right version, especially because he sang it live 76, 77, and there's a little hit or miss because of his health. But oh man, there's a version that it's probably the one you're going to most easily find because it's on the TV special that ironically, many of you probably don't know that CBS filmed Elvis's last tour. Well, they didn't know it was going to be his last tour. They just so happened to cut a deal with the Colonel. And so CBS did a TV special on Elvis's last tour. Then it turned out to be his last tour before they even produced it. So then they had to get interviews with his father and Colonel Parker to talk about his death. And it turned out to be a different type of TV special, unfortunately. But yeah, that is beautifully crafted. That is one of my favorites. There are some bad audio versions of it. That's a sore spot with me with Elvis music, is some of it's poorly mixed, poorly produced. Yeah. But oh my goodness. Vocal control, he put it together on that particular night for that particular song. Megan, Queen. Okay, my own. So these are Megan's favorites. I'm guessing. Queen. Okay, that's a popular response. People love Queen. I don't really get it. But again, I'm not listening to Crazy Little Thing Called Love is, of course, a much different type of Queen song that was inspired by Elvis, that I think is a catchy little 50s kind of style. But of course, that's not. It's funny that I've heard this about, and I've also heard recordings to back it up, to confirm it. But I've heard it out of the mouth of Robert Plant, not Freddie Mercury, but I've heard the sound. What do they call those when you do like a sound check? That they would sing Elvis songs during their sound checks, and there are recordings of it. Zeppelin did it all the time, and not exactly the most famous Elvis songs. It's funny. And Queen did the same thing. But anyway, so sorry to always give it the Elvis slant, but I see these artists and I think, okay, Queen, Talking Heads. Now with the Talking Heads, their one huge song in the early 80s, mid 80s, Wild Wild Life, that's Talking Heads, right? I think that's a great song. I love that song. I loved that song. I'm sorry, I'm ignorant in terms of their catalog. Def Leppard, pretty ignorant on their catalog. I know the big hits. I'm not a fan. Pink Floyd, not a fan. Springsteen, I've talked about, one of my 5 favorites. Madonna, got a little love-hate relationship with Madonna. She kind of freaks me out now. So I'll separate myself from like Madonna. And I generally do with all these people. Like, not going to talk about their social stances and so forth. Talking strictly music, I love Madonna's early music. I love it. I know it can be ridiculed, but I love it. It's catchy. I thought it was brilliant. I love almost all of it from when she first started for about 5 years. And then she did some really nice things even for about the next 10 or 15 years after that. I have no idea what she's produced in the last 15 or 20 years probably. But Megan, thank you so much for the list there. This is not a college football show today, is it? Yakov, the first concert I ever saw was Bon Jovi in '87 at the old Richfield Coliseum. Several fellow 7th graders made the trip together from Canton. There you go. Yeah, when Bon Jovi, they were really big then because I went out with a girl and went to her prom. I just graduated. It was a year later. And I remember Bon Jovi, it was just at that time because I do remember Bon Jovi being their like theme song for their class because it was played over and over and over. I'm not going to have many kind things to say about Bon Jovi, so I'll move on. Todd says he has over 700 albums. Wow, I've got about 70 or 80. And people must not enjoy our conversation. We've only got 27 people watching. So, but that's okay. This will be a throwaway show. Yeah, I have, if you're talking albums and CDs, calling all of them albums, I'll tell you what I've got that's not Elvis. One Johnny Cash, two or three Huey Lewis, two or three Madonna, two or three John Mellencamp. Pink. Pink is probably the most modern artist that I enjoy a lot of her music, a lot of it. I think Pink is great. Politics aside, again, Pink is love, Pink. Yes. And then everything else I've had is all Elvis. I would love to more formally, when I was a kid and in my teens, I would buy albums, keep them nice. But with moving and being a grown up and all, my collection of music, and with having digital music now, I told my family this past Christmas, I want to repurchase and I want to have a clean, crisp, brand new copy of every Elvis album. Those meaning his original albums, not there are a zillion knockoff Camden, just throw together album. No, I mean the original ones that he produced that were released in his lifetime. I want a clean new copy of all of those. Okay, I think I've covered all the ground going backwards. Motley Crue. I mistakenly used the name Motley Crue just yesterday or the day before. I was at the Y with a friend, and I said, I meant to say Motley Fool. It's like a stock service. And I said Motley Crue. Man, look at you, Adam. You're just like me. I've been a little slightly more diverse. It's usually about 98 or 99% Elvis. It's been more like 90% recently because I've put a lot of mix of other stuff that I like. Pink, Ricky Nelson, some country. I like a little country. And not modern, but not old. It's not old country. It's like 90s country, 2000s country that's mixed in there too. That was going to lead me to something. Yeah, Pink needs to be added to my playlist. I have somehow missed on Pink. She's one of my 5 to 10 favorite. Yeah, and most of his great stuff is not the standard stuff. The standard stuff's great, the stuff that people know, but it's more the other stuff, as you well know, Adam. And now with YouTube, of course, is phenomenal. That not that it's got the greatest quality, but stuff gets discovered all the time. So, John, should I even bring up? And of course you should, because this is open to everything. Of course, Dr. Dre, Snoop, and Eminem. Sorry, I botched that. Eminem, 50 Cent's first album. Okay. I know nothing about any of them. Zero. I would not recognize. I shouldn't say that. They probably all have a song or two that are so transcendent that I've heard them out that I would know. But I just don't know, like I can't name them, I can't list them, I can't think of them. But if I heard them, yeah. My sister loved those Hades hair bands when she was growing up. Yeah. Then the 90s grunge. Usually when something like that becomes a trend, or at least back then, I would pick up on a little bit of it. Like the really most popular would be like, okay, this is okay. Like the grunge music, not into that. But like the most popular of it, there'd be some good tunes. And then, of course, you're probably in the same place as I am, that there are random songs that you just kind of like. Like, here's a tune that I love: The Cranberries' Linger. Love that song. Love it. Love it. Love it. But like the Cranberries, I'm not going to sit and listen to them for hours, but 2 or 3 songs. If you're responding to my last song name drop there, Megan, yes. Oh, I love that song. Megan says, Seattle grunge for the win, Mark. Why I love Seattle so much. Yeah, I've always heard that Seattle's an amazing city. I've never been there. I'm hearing bad things about it now, of course. It's become uh, just a cesspool, much of it. Jim Croce is good. I'm not going to listen to Jim Croce. It doesn't cross my mind, but he is really good. Here's a name for you that I'm surprised has yet to be brought up. Here is a name that usually draws 2 very diverse opinions. Then we'll get to some college football. Never saw the bad side. Oh, I hear about it all the time. Just talked to one of our correspondents, we will call them, one of our contributors. Guy lives in Seattle, loves Seattle's lived there his whole life, and says everything that you hear on the news and everything, it's true. Place is a disaster. Yeah, you trip over homeless people all over the place, and don't be surprised if you see needles all over the place. And yeah, it's disgusting. All right. Don't mess around with Jim. Yeah, Jackson joining the conversation here. Absolutely. Great songs. Some of his more sentimental songs. I can't think of the song about the dad. There's a song, obviously, If I Could Save Time in a Bottle. Dylan. Okay, Dylan. Dylan. Now you talk about somebody who loved Elvis. Oh my goodness. Dylan's got it in his biography. Oh man. And I've heard him say it and state it all. You look up what Dylan has to say about Elvis. He says, the song that I cherish the most that I ever wrote is the one that Elvis recorded. Because Elvis did Tomorrow's a Long Time. But yeah, Dylan just goes on and on about how Elvis changed his life. Fire and Rain, James Taylor. When I was a kid, I liked that song. Now, yeah, it's, fine. Oh, the person that I was going to bring up, we'll go to Ralph's list here. Rush. Oh, one of my best friends was a Rush fanatic when we were in high school, college, probably still loves Rush. I've got, no interest in that. Hendrix, no interest. I know he's just out of the, and I'm going to make another tie to Elvis. Hendrix says, I went to go see Elvis in 57 when I was like 12, and Elvis was the best, and da-da-da-da. Prince, got no room for Prince. So the first 3, I don't want to listen to at all. Hall & Oates, they've got a couple good songs. More Elvis references when it comes to Hall & Oates. They actually had a commercial on MTV back in the day where they talked about, they had an album coming out about missed opportunities or something like that. And they talk about not going to see Elvis at Madison Square Garden, and they should have. Steely Dan, know nothing about. That bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the eaves, stowing away the time. Is that Steely Dan? It's a catchy song. But yeah, the Doors, again, Jim Morrison's a huge Elvis guy. Oh, he gushes on about Elvis being his influence, being his guy and the greatest and all that. I make all these references to Elvis, but that's what I think of when I see these people. The Doors, Light My Fire, and of course, Touch Me, Babe. Is that the name of the song? Touch me, babe. Can't you see that I am not afraid? And yeah, I don't want to listen to it, but it's artistic. I can appreciate it. Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick's got a couple really good songs. Can't think of them right now, but they've got a couple really good songs. The Clash, they surprisingly have a couple songs that I like. And you're going way off into a different direction with the Carpenters. And Ralph, again, anything that I've said derogatory about these bands, please don't take it to heart because it's just opinion. Somebody came on here and said Elvis sucks. That's your opinion. That's fine. I understand that opinion's out there. It's out there about everyone. By somebody. Like I was surprised the other day. I have probably found a couple like historic rock Twitter accounts too much that I don't follow them, but Twitter throws them at me all the time now that I'm constantly seeing polls and questions. And I was surprised the other day. There was something about greatest band. And I was surprised at how many people were trashing the Beatles. Like, I just think of the Beatles as either you love the Beatles, or even if you don't, you say, you just kind of give it's almost the Michael Jordan answer that, okay, they're the greatest ever. It's just kind of a given. We accept it, even if we don't. Like, I like the Beatles. I like about 5 to 10 songs a lot. I think they have about 5 to 10 great songs. The other ones I can do without. Obviously, I can do without any of them because I don't listen to the Beatles. But I think, She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Ticket to Ride. All those are phenomenal songs. I would never in any way discount the Beatles because they're, you can make an argument as the greatest of all time. Why'd I bring them up? So don't take anything I have to say to heart. I'm just spewing my opinion. So we should feel free to and open to state our opinion. The Carpenters, yeah, you went off into it. My sister loves the Carpenters. I have a strong appreciation for the Carpenters. Karen Carpenter is a beautiful vocalist. Oh my goodness. Adam, you're correct, and that's little known, that there were a lot of inherent things physically that, people just think, it's junky and doom. Yeah. Oh, shoot, I lost the Carpenters. But, the song Superstar? Yeah. I love that song. And even their corny little love songs, yeah, I can listen to them and appreciate, again, Karen Carpenter. It is hard there are vocalists, female vocalists. I separate female and male. I typically don't compare the two. It's kind of reminds me of a John McEnroe comment he made about comparing male and female tennis players. That was kind of funny. But male and female vocalists, I don't compare them. But man, there are women that can belt it out more than Karen Carpenter, of course, whoever that is, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin. But just for having a beautiful tone and just a beautiful delivery that's like flawless, whew, Karen Carpenter is hard to beat. She is a beautiful vocalist. Beautiful vocalist. Uh, yes, her life was not easy. It's sad. I think she passed away at the age of 32. Yeah, it's sad. Yes, mental health is a very sad, disturbing, mysterious sort of thing in regards to you look at certain people and think, what are they processing that they don't see reality, or they treat themselves a certain way. But fame can be a rough at that level. It can be a tough thing to deal with. And a lot of people that we've named during this conversation did not deal with it well, or maybe they did for a time. Todd loves the Stones. Time is on my side. Great song. Love it. I can tell people are showing up to listen to college football because we've dropped from like 40 to 20. So forget this show. Nobody's going to be watching this show after we're done. I should put a condition on it. This is not about college football. The Stones, yeah, time is on my side. Start me up. Yeah, I'm not going to have a lot of great things to say about the Stones. So, Todd, I'm sorry. Todd's got every Beatles album. I don't have any Beatles albums, but again, yeah, the Beatles took that psychedelic turn, of course. That's how most people view them as, okay, this is the Beatles early stuff, and then they took the turn, and I have absolutely no interest in listening to any Beatles music post like 66. Like I just, yeah, that doesn't interest me. They did the Monkees. Well, there's kind of a pretend band. Not that they didn't produce some, not that they didn't produce some fun music. I don't know that it was good. Megan, 11:30 there. Queen is the greatest band of all time. And that was largely stated in some of the polls and in some of the responses that I saw, that I was surprised. I just thought it was a default, like everybody says the Beatles. And then there's like 2% that say Led Zeppelin and Queen and the Stones. But yeah, there was a strong push for Queen as the greatest band of all time. Yeah, we've only just begun. That is a great song. Here is my knock on the Carpenters. And I just got done saying a few minutes ago that a lot of Elvis's music, unfortunately, was not properly produced, mixed, and that takes away from it. That irks me. But like, it sounds like, for as great a composer as, was it Richard Carpenter? I hope I got his name right. Richard Carpenter, her brother, how just genius he was in composing music. A lot of their music sounds like Muzak. Like, it doesn't sound like it's authentic, like it's got like guts to it. It's like, bring in a real drummer and a real guitar. Like, I'm not talking about playing heavy metal music. I'm just saying it just doesn't have any. And I appreciate that they really wanted to highlight her voice. And that's what the music's all about. It's his compositions and her voice. But yeah, give me a little more punch. Tukey G, greatest band of all time, is clearly the Bare Naked Ladies. It's not even close. So this is funny because this is probably their novelty song, I'm guessing, just by the sound of the song. But what's on my playlist from the Bare Naked Ladies is If I Had $1,000,000. That song's I love that song. But in terms of knowing much more about them, I don't. So I really can't. I'm sure I would recognize some of their songs, but I can't really comment on that. But I love that song. Zeppelin's the greatest band of all time. Perfect band, all four perfect fits. Yeah, I'm not really a band guy. I must not be, because my favorites of all time, you know who else I love that I bet we could be talking music for the next 10 hours. And unfortunately, although this group, let's see if you can, I'll describe this group as best I can without using one term that would identify their location that you would nail it. So I'll leave that out. This would be a 60s group that, if you look at lists of all-time number ones, top 10 hits, I don't know how much they've been surpassed in the last 10 or 15 years by the likes of Taylor Swift and those kind of people, but they would be very high on these all-time lists. And I just think they're largely forgotten, but man, they are probably my second favorite of all time. My second favorite group, tons of hits. That's not enough to give you. They're female. Female group, tons of hits. Ralph got it. Ralph got it. The Supremes. Oh my goodness. They are so good. They are so good. Get yourself a Supremes Greatest Hits album. I would not elevate a Supremes Greatest Hits album over an Elvis Greatest Hits album, but I would make this comparison, or I would say that there is an argument there. Of course, there's always an argument. But I mean, even in my opinion, because I think Elvis's greatest music is spread all over the place. Much of it's not charted, even though he had like 150 songs on the charts. Like, much of his greatest music is unknown. It's only known by Elvis fans. Like, it's not just the hits. But with the Supremes, their greatest stuff, it's awesome. Love it. They are such good singers. Diana Ross, of course. All three of them are so talented, such beautiful singers. And I just love the vibe of their music. It's got more, you think of the Supremes, oh, they're a pop sound. No, it's got more of a funk and more blues injected to it than you would think. Man, the Supremes are great. I thought somebody would guess the Dixie Chicks. When they became popular, I did like a couple of their songs. Okay, I'm going to offend some people here, but I never got it with the Beach Boys. Oh, my word. Don't like the Beach Boys. Don't like any of theirs. They don't have one song I like. Yes, Motown. So in addition to the Supremes, Smokey Robinson's got some great songs. The Temptations, the Four Tops, Stevie Wonder. All right. Do we have any interest in college football right now? Do we have any interest in it? Well, let's see what the headlines tell us. So, oh man, so we're going from this fun music conversation to this, but we will mention this, of course. We will get to this because it's important. This is sad. John Wallace, Louisville's career field goal leader as a place kicker, dies at 31. So we don't know the cause. He converted a school record 66 field goals, 2 in the Sugar Bowl in 2013. I remember that game well, when Louisville upset Florida with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. He was 31. 31. Helped the Cardinals reach 4 consecutive bowl games, highlighted by the win we just mentioned. Made 10 of his first 11 attempts as a freshman. The miss was 57 yards. Kicked the game winner in overtime to beat Cincinnati. Made 20 of 24 kicks in 2013 as Louisville posted a school best 12-1 record. That team beat Miami in the Russell Athletic Bowl. 85 career attempts, a school record. Points record is number 2, 78% completion or field goal conversion rate. 8th overall in scoring at Louisville. So that's sad, to say the least. So our condolences go out to John Wallace's family and friends. Life is precious. It is precious. We had many discussions about this guy with our Washington guy, Lars Hansen. He's with Locked On. He's really good. And when he stops by to talk Washington football, we talked about this guy, unfortunately, a number of times. This is sad, too. This is sad. When I see a story like this, I just think, of course, the victim. Of course. That's just, it's unspeakable. It's unspeakable. So for involving 2 women. So he's charged, innocent until proven guilty. He pleaded not guilty. So let's always keep that in perspective in regards to something that is yet to go to trial and be proven convicted. But these incidents obviously happen every day all over the place. So we'll not focus just solely on this specific case, but just this. It's a tragedy in our society that women are abused. It's horrible. It's just unspeakable. Just rips my heart out. And then I also, in a smaller part, think of the aggressor, the perpetrator, and what kind of upbringing they had and what's going through their mind and heart to be that abusive and horrible. They have to be in a really bad place themselves, whether they're in a bad place, confused, frustrated, disturbed, all that. Or I think a lot of predators in this sense are narcissistic. They believe that people are objects, women are objects, and they can do whatever they want. And so I in a strange way, feel bad for them as well, because unless they get some serious help, they are not going to have a good conclusion to their existence either. All right. We do have a super chat coming in. Erica, thank you so much for that. Oh man. Oh yes. So thank you for the super chat. Let's get rid of this headline there and address what Erica has to say. Erica, Iowa fan. We enjoy Erica's comments to the national show, to the Iowa show, and when we are off the topic of college football. So thank you, Erica, for contributing. I appreciate that. Olivia Newton-John I will put her in the class of many of the comments that I stated about Karen Carpenter and her remarkable angelic voice. I would say the same thing about Olivia Newton-John. Oh, regardless of what you think of her music, I'm not saying, and I don't say that in a derogatory way, but I know that there is criticism of it as being too pop, too fluffy, too this, too that. She leaned into some country music too, but I'm thinking when I'm thinking of Olivia Newton-John, I'm thinking of Grease, and I'm thinking of her early mid 70s tunes. Yeah, well, she's a beautiful woman. Unfortunately, we lost her in the last couple of years. I believe, I don't want to misstate that, but I think she passed away just recently, correct? I believe so. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Yeah, she passed away in 2022. I thought she was 73. And I saw some recent clips of her, and she still was a beautiful singer and a beautiful person. And she seemed like a very genuine, authentic, uh, very caring, giving person. Heard her talk about things that she was involved in that from a humanity standpoint, from a charity standpoint, that were very, very good causes. So, yeah, as an artist, just a beautiful person and a beautiful voice. One of the great voices in the history of popular music. Yeah. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. It is remarkable to me that she is as great a songwriter as she is, and was at a young age. I think that's phenomenal that people have that talent. Very few, but there are those people out there that at a young age they can express themselves so well. So I will say that about her music. I don't dislike her music. I don't love her music. I think it's catchy. I was surprised. Taylor Swift was brought up on our Miami show because our Miami guy, Kim Underwood, is a music person, meaning professionally, he has taught choir. He has taught choirs that have competed in national competition, won awards. He understands vocal quality and all of that. And he was asked about Taylor Swift, and he was complimentary of her ability. Uh, and so I went online because I was curious how many Taylor Swift songs I know. And my daughter loves Taylor Swift. My daughter has seen Taylor Swift live, I believe 3 times, 2 for sure, I believe 3 times. She always, my daughter loves Justin Bieber and she loves Taylor Swift. Not surprisingly, she's 24 years old. So she's right in that age range. And she grew up with those two and others. So she has seen Justin Bieber was her first concert, and she went to go see Justin Bieber when she was like 12, and she's still going to see him at 24. She just went to see him maybe a year or two ago, and then I think she's seen Justin Bieber 3 times as well. And she knows I like the song "Baby Baby" by Justin Bieber. That's my one Justin Bieber song. The other selections all sound the same to me. I'm just kind of like, she'll play me a new Justin Bieber song and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's great. So she'll always record it at the concert and send it to me. Taylor Swift. I love the James Dean dun dun dun. We Never Go Out of Style song. So she'll record that at the concert and send it to me. But I think she's ultra talented. She's obviously an extremely bright business person. She has handled her career from a business standpoint expertly. I don't have too many negatives to say about Taylor Swift other than, I'm not going to sit here and listen to Taylor Swift for 2 hours. But I was surprised at how many Taylor Swift songs I knew. So I looked up and I thought, how many Taylor Swift songs do I know? 5? No, more like 17 or 18. I was like, oh yeah, I know that song. I know that song. I could actually sing a couple lines from that song, that song, that song, that song. Remarkable success. I like both of their music, both Olivia Newton-John and Taylor Swift, but not to the degree that it's part of my everyday musical library by any stretch. But if I hear it, I will listen to it. I don't turn it off. Most music I turn off because I don't like it. Why is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland and not Detroit? One of the great reasons why is that Alan Freed was the man who coined the phrase rock and roll. So Alan Freed, a famous disc jockey in Cleveland, was the first rock and roll disc jockey, and he termed the phrase rock and roll. He called it rock and roll. So should it be in Cleveland just because of that? I think that's what the famous and just a lot of the acts that were at the forefront of rock and roll came through Cleveland. In Cleveland, they had a event every year or every Saturday. I'm sorry, I don't know the details, but it's called like the Moondog Coronation Ball. And it was really like the first rock and roll concert. And it was like all the time. I think it was like every Saturday they had this. And he would broadcast it on the radio. That's where, why Detroit? Detroit's a Motown. Like I connect Detroit, Motown. And Motown's connected to rock and roll, but it's really not rock and roll. It's more founded in the blues and R&B. So yeah, the more I think about it and I start to vet this, the more Cleveland's justified. Because yeah, there were rock and roll shows in Cleveland. Now, rock and roll is coming from all over the place, but most specifically, other towns you think of are obviously Memphis, more than anywhere, but also like St. Louis, the Delta, New Orleans. It's coming from everywhere. But I would think if they were going to go anywhere for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame after Cleveland, they would go to Memphis. Elvis, obviously, but beyond that, Johnny Cash. Not that, again, the lines get blurred because Johnny Cash is not a rock and roller, but there's influence there. Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and others. Those are the main four. Yeah. So there was a large origination of, and then the R&B influence, of course, that was in Memphis. Was B.B. King there? So Memphis would be the second stop. The reason I think it's in Cleveland over Memphis is because Elvis is in Memphis and it would just get swallowed up by Graceland, and that being a tourist, they didn't want to compete with that. That was the obvious decision there. You are right, Joey. I don't get to talk about music very often. And I refrain from talking about music. Well, first of all, because we've got a college football network, number one. Number two, because I know that I tend to bash musicians, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt or offend people's feelings because I know that I don't like to hear my guy get bashed. So I back off on that. For living close to Cleveland for all those years, I never went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. John's down for some karaoke. I love the karaoke. uh, I've been to Graceland twice. I have to get there one more time before I die. I went there in 1994 with my wife at the time, and I went there with my kids in '07. And one of my two children would go back with me. The other one would not. But I took my kids in '07. And in many ways, that was like the greatest vacation ever. I just loved it. Had my kids there. We had a great time. Remember hearing from a lot of my friends who had kids, they were like annoyed with their kids a lot. And they found it kind of a pain to travel with them. My kids were always great. Like I didn't have any issues with them. I told them to do things, they did it. Like I took my kids all over the place. I took them on baseball trips to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. and New York City and Boston and Pittsburgh. We'd go to Cleveland all the time for baseball games. I took them to Colorado on a vacation. I took them to California on a vacation. I took them to Graceland, to Memphis on a vacation. Jackson might have a good idea here. Maybe Jackson and John can collab and we can have some kind of karaoke nights on Patreon or something. I don't know. That could be an added bonus, or music discussions. Tukey, I don't know what you mean by that, but yes, just my trips with my kids, I guess. Yes, we had a great time. I love that. I love. Well, I hope I'm a great dad. That was my biggest goal in life. And now they're 27 and 24. So, but still talk to them all the time. And my daughter's visiting next week after. So, yeah, it goes by. If you have little kids or you're planning on having kids, you're either married or going to get married or whatever, you envision yourself having kids, or you do right now, and maybe they're driving you crazy and they're 3 years old. Again, maybe I'm dismissing those times. Of course, they're going to drive you crazy at 2 or 3 years old in little spurts. Yet that was my experience. They were very limited spurts because there's a communication gap. It's like my son sent me yesterday. He's a dog trainer. He's building a business. He just left his job and he's building his own business in dog training. So he sent me his social media spiel and his promotion. And so I was cleaning that up a little bit for him. Oh, it was at the core of this, social media promotion about his dog training business is basically conveying to people that we as humans communicate one way and the dog doesn't understand how we communicate. We have to learn how to communicate as dogs communicate. We got to train ourselves to be like dogs and understand how they're responding, how they communicate. It's the same thing with little kids. And not that I mastered it at all and probably didn't process it like that then, but you have to understand little kids don't communicate like adults. Good money in dog training. Well, my son is banking on that. He went to one of the better academies in the country and learned his craft very well. He receives a lot of rave reviews to the point where one of his first clients, now that he's going out on his own, is paying for his expenses to go to New Hampshire. This guy lives like 3 states away, is paying for my son to go to New Hampshire just to train his dog and put him up in a hotel to say, I want you to train my dog, because he trained his other dog and the dog unfortunately passed away. And now he has another dog. JR, we are moving, and I have a 1-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. That's tough. It's super chaotic, but I wouldn't trade these days for anything. Yes, cherish them. Mine are 27 and 24. Louis, I'm sorry if it's pronounced Luis. His are 33 and 31. He could probably say the same thing. It's just goes by quick. It's gone. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like one day they're 5 and 3, and then all of a sudden, I loved when my kids were toddlers. They were so fun. They're funny. I assume they're not unique in this way, because I never interacted much with little toddlers except for helping out at the church. And I would help out at the church, especially when I became a dad or was preparing to become a dad. I would help out in the nursery at the church just to get used to that. But yeah, they're hilarious when they're little 3 and 4-year-olds. All right, folks. We do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And I took this show to an extreme today. We usually talk some college football. May this show rest in peace. Nobody's going to want to watch this show for the rest of the day. And I do think that ultimately we need to put together a show that can be lasting for at least the remainder of the day. So I have some thoughts in mind about how to tighten things up. And so we'll figure it out. All right. Do appreciate you being here. Have a great weekend. I'm not going to guarantee or promise, because I'm smart enough to know that you don't promise anything. We hope that our Big Ten rankings will be released today. I'm going to get right on that. Big Ten rankings released today. All-time Big Ten rankings. Then we're going to do live streams. So we're going to put all our Big Ten channels together, do a big live stream reviewing the all-time rankings. All the SEC channels, all the Big 12, everyone, we're going to review the all-time rankings and have you tear me to shreds. Also, we set up a live stream for tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to take your calls. You can call me about anything, but I'm going to be focused on all these kickoff times and TV destinations that have been announced for the first couple weeks of the season. Jackson, you should love that. So we're going to talk TV times, kickoff times, and I'll give my impressions and take your questions, your comments, your calls. 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. All right. Other than that, I believe we've got a Clemson show at 7. We've got a West Virginia show, or the Big 12 show at 7 as well. Whoa. Hey. I got to add this to the schedule. We'll make an announcement right here and right now. I didn't realize that this started tonight. Hey, everybody. Tonight at 9 Eastern, we've got our first Michigan Wolverines call-in show. How about that? Okay. So you've got me at 6. You've got 2 devices at 7. You've got the Clemson show. I think they do it at 7. They're back and forth all the time, 7 and 8. But our guys doing the Clemson show at 7. You've got Joey and the guys at 7 on the Big 12 show. Michigan call-in show. Yes, this was a great idea. Love it. Love what's going on in the Michigan channel. John, TJ, Ferris. It's phenomenal. Doing great stuff there. And yes, Michigan fans, John, you should hear this as well. I defended J.J. McCarthy for at least 15 minutes yesterday on the Florida State show because my Florida State guys were throwing me, I'll not say an expletive, throwing me comments, arguments about the quarterback play at Florida State, even with the backup end being the equivalent to J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. My head just about exploded, but I took it calmly. But I defended J.J. McCarthy as being one of the best quarterbacks in college football for about 10 or 15 minutes on the Florida State show yesterday. All right, so we tell it like it is. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Again, you're lined up for 6, 7, and 9 tonight, starting with me at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, be looking out for the Big Ten rankings, Big Ten all-time rankings. Check out the other videos, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and SEC. They're worth a watch. We appreciate you. Proud of you too, JR. Check out JR's videos on the Ohio State channel. Guys, have a great day. Thanks for being here. You're the best. We'll see you at 6 Eastern.